Welcome back and thank you for joining me for Chapter 7. I hope you've been following along with the series, but Chapter 7, the title is The Pyramid of Food Lies. Our quote for this chapter is, "Often the less there is to justify a traditional custom, the harder it is to get rid of," by Mark Twain. Excellent quote. Love Mark Twain. Chapter 7 is going to be all about the food pyramid. And so I think it's probably one of the most important chapters in this book and probably one of the most key factors for all diets and just living a natural, healthy life. I'll tell you right off the bat, I think the food pyramid is a joke. Here's the lie. The USDA food pyramid and MyPlate models offer the healthiest way to make the food choices. If you follow them, you will have a better health. Do you really believe that? Because what I wrote in my notes here after reading this is, how can the USDA still think this is true? If you look at our history, when we adopted the food pyramid, implemented it into school children, we are now the fattest nation on the planet, including myself. The evidence is right in front of everybody. The proof is in the pudding, so to speak. The food pyramids do not work. In the section, why should we care? Well, I think one thing to point out, and he points out, of course, is the logical conclusion is that the obesity and diabetes epidemics of our society is directly related to the food we eat. Well, if we're following the food pyramid and we have an epidemic of obesity and diabetes and all kinds of other related issues, why is this important to us? Because if choosing the wrong foods on a daily basis can result you in being overweight and sick and worse, don't you want to know? We need to know that the food pyramid is not working. So let's go ahead and go to the section called Support for the Lie. Once again, we have no real true data supporting this, that the food pyramids do work. Now, what I'm going to say is I think we have the opposite. We have so much data just by looking at us and looking at the health of Americans to prove that the food pyramid doesn't work. And that's no good. No bueno. The federal government and every expert will, however, tell you to follow the food pyramid and MyPlate guidelines. But why? Here's the question. Why? Let's look at the common sense section. For 99% of humans exist on this planet, humans have been slim, fit, and diabetes free. Those are our ancestors, pre-pyramid. Oh my goodness. It's the common sense in this is so ridiculously obvious to me. So we got to compare the body sizes of modern humans in the last 50, 70 years now, compared to our predecessors before that. Just know that obesity rates have increased steadily since the USDA has introduced the food pyramid and MyPlate guidelines. In his research section, he's asking us, if you want to know how the USDA really works, just go Google the history of the food pyramid. And I did that a little bit, and I went through this. And what you're going to find is you will read how big food and big agricultural, got the final say in the guidelines. So here's what happened. I think in the very, very beginning, the government had probably a pretty decent motivation for thinking they were doing the right thing. They got nutritionists together and they came up with the food pyramid, and then they let the food industry and the companies review it and alter it and change it. And one thing I'll say about that is it's not surprising that government officials can be manipulated by big corporations. We deal with it every day. So I do believe there is so much truth into this. In the take-home section, what we're supposed to get out of this is simply this. The USDA food pyramid and MyPlate guidelines repeat many medical lies. The pyramid of disease encourages you to eat more starches, more dairy, less fat, and fewer veggies. Less meat than you should. So what Dr. Berry is saying, look, the food pyramid is actually backwards, completely upside down. He throws out the question again, we should ask why the government has allowed this to happen. Well, we all know the answer to that. And one thing he wants to point out is, remember, grains make cattle or pigs fat. So when the farmer wants to fatten up his livestock, what does he do? He feeds them large quantities of grains. Well, what is the food pyramid? Large quantity of grains. Now, so him talking about the food pyramid got me thinking, hey, okay, so I know Dr. Berry doesn't like the traditional food pyramid in my plate. So what is his version of a food pyramid? So I've gone out and Googled, and I'm going to insert an image right here that's from the carnivore diet. That's the food pyramid of that. This image is as close as I could find to something that says, from Dr. Berry, here's my food pyramid. Now, I did see another thing where I was logging in and going down a rabbit hole, but they wanted money for me to get into more detail, so I kind of passed on that. But here's an image of it, so just look at that one from the carnivore diet and compare it to the traditional one. If you want to support our channel, please feel free to donate to our PayPal account. Everything helps, everything is appreciated. So in the section as do as I do, he really says, look, forget the other pyramids. Follow your ancestral diet. Follow your DNA. Trust your body. Your body knows what you want to eat. Occasionally indulging in a treat is fine as long as it's not a staple in your diet. So just follow the DNA. Follow your ancestral diet. In the homework section, he talks about basically some doctors, health professionals, when the government says something, they deem it to be absolute. And we all know that's not true. We also know things are manipulated. But in the homework, he would like for us to read a book called Death by the Food Pyramid, How Shoddy Science, Sketchy Politics, Bribery, and Shady Special Interests Have Ruined Our Health by Dennis Minger, 2014. And I think I'm going to buy that book because I'm really interested in it. But the food pyramid, this chapter, I think is one of the most important things, in my own opinion, that can help you change your entire life. Forget the food pyramid we grew up on. Forget it. Hey, thank you. Make sure that you catch us in chapter 8.